Calling all you entrepreneurs, Paul Argueta here. Today, I'm going to be covering with you 6 tips on how to stay committed to your business endeavor and why loving what you do isn't enough. So before we get started, let's just do a little bit of housekeeping. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you can have access to all the videos and all the playlists that we're creating and curating for you to help you on your entrepreneurial endeavor. In addition to that, please make sure that you ring the bell. There's going to be a small bell icon right next to the subscribe button, and you'll get alerts anytime we upload new content. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a 20-year veteran of the real estate industry, and in the last 4 to 5 years, I've really taken digital marketing to a whole new level. I've implemented it in my real estate business and in my real estate brokerage. So as an entrepreneur, I know what it's like to start a business from the grassroots all the way up to building an organization of over 150 people. And I feel like there's a lot of content that can help the new entrepreneurs, but I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff that's going to help the veteran entrepreneurs as well. And more importantly, I appreciate any participation. So comments, dialogue, conversation, make sure that you participate below so that way for those of you who are veterans, veteran entrepreneurs, you can also make sure that you offer your advice, offer your tips, and open up a conversation with me. Okay, let's talk about commitment. As an entrepreneur, this is the single most, if not the most important quality that you can possess while pursuing your entrepreneurial endeavor, okay? And the best part about this is that commitment can be taught. In fact, it's taught every day. If you have children, your children are watching everything that you do. They are watching your commitment to your spouse. They are watching your commitment to your job. They are watching your commitment to your faith. They are watching your commitment to your health. They are watching what you do. And so as parents, when we see our children quit something when the going gets tough, or when we see that they don't want to go to practice, or that they don't want to play that instrument, or they're getting tired and they give up easy, it's hard for them to understand why they should keep going when as parents we don't demonstrate the exact same thing. So understand that commitment and our children's commitment is a direct reflection of what we do, and it is something that is emulated, and it is something that can be taught. Today, I'm going to give you 6 tips on how to teach yourself how to stay more committed to what it is that you're building. And a lot of these rules and a lot of these tips can actually be applied to almost anything, including our personal relationships, okay? So I'm not going to talk about marriage per se, but I am going to tell you that what I'm going to cover is stuff that I implement not only in my business, but even in my daily household life. A few years back, Steve Jobs did a commencement speech over at Stanford. I'm sure that many of you have seen it on the internet or have heard the speech. It was an amazing speech. He said something to the degree of, you have to love what you do. I'm going to disagree with that. And I know that I may get some flack for it, but here's my take on that. Loving what you do is not enough. And here's why. I believe that as human beings, we have a tendency to confuse love with excitement or with passion or with even lust. And so when things start to get a little redundant or repetitive or boring, as human beings, we get excited about things that are new, right? And so it's easy to get confused with love and with excitement because something is brand new. You have to learn how to be committed to something when that excitement ends, because at some point the excitement is going to dull. It happens. It's normal. That's something about the way we are designed. And so if you don't catch yourself early enough, what's going to happen is you're going to find yourself being distracted by all the shiny objects that are out there, and not only in business, but even in your own personal relationships, okay? Now, look, I get it. Being committed to something toxic can also work against you. And so I'm not here to teach you that you should be committed to something almost to a fault. But what I am telling you to do is to learn how to be committed to something even when the going gets tough. Now, your threshold for pain or for what you might call toxicity in a relationship or in a business endeavor might be a little bit different than my definition of it, but all I'm suggesting is don't be so easy to quit when the going gets tough. Learn a little bit of grit. Learn how to be committed to something in spite of the fact that, yeah, it might get boring. Yeah, it's not so much fun anymore, right? Nothing is fun when you're having to become good at it. It becomes fun when you are good at it, right? But the process of becoming good at it is never fun, right? We all know that. So just accept the reality that you're going to have to develop these skills of commitment. All right, let's dive right into these 6 tips. Tip number 1 on how to stay committed. Stay focused. Don't be so distracted. We've all heard the saying, the grass is always greener on the other side. There's also the saying, the grass is always greener where you tend it. So understand that it's easy to get distracted when you're looking at other entrepreneurs. It's easy to get distracted when you're looking at all the shiny objects, right? All the new bells and whistles. But you have to learn how to stay laser focused on what it is that you're doing. Because if you don't, you're going to start to look at somebody else and you're going to start to wonder why they're succeeding in their endeavor and you're not. And here's the thing. You have to learn how to run your race. Just because you see an entrepreneur succeeding in another endeavor doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't have their challenges while pursuing that endeavor. And more importantly, you don't know, and chances are that is probably not going to be the first attempt or business that they've started or ran. And so when you see someone succeeding, you don't know what has happened during the prior 5 to 10 years, okay? Most business owners, most successful entrepreneurs aren't going to have success their first time at bat. I'm gonna repeat that. Most successful entrepreneurs don't have success their first time at bat. And so if you're seeing someone succeed at whatever it is that they're doing, chances are that's not their first time. And they have a series of challenges and failures in other endeavors, right, that built that foundation for success for whatever is working for them right now. So while you're looking at them succeed, statistics show that they probably failed in something else prior to getting to where they're at now. And you're so busy focused on their success, on their present success, that you're not taking into account all the stuff that happened before. Likewise, right now, if you're going through some difficult times, if you're going through some failures, right, all you're doing is building the same exact foundation, right? Those failures, right? As you go through the valley of failure, remember that those challenges have not come to stay, they've come to pass. That is part of the process, part of the journey. And so one of the keys to staying committed is really just staying focused on what it is that you're trying to build, right? Focus on improving it. Focus on making yourself better. Focus on your craft, okay? Focus on becoming better. Don't ask for it to be easier. Ask for yourself to become better at what it is that you're doing. Don't be so distracted by everything else that is going on around you. If you are going to focus on those success stories, and I do, I love reading about them. I love learning about what those entrepreneurs did to become successful. If you're gonna focus on those stories, then focus on them from the perspective of what can I learn from that versus why are they so successful and I'm not? Why is it working for them and I'm not? Take it from the point of view of someone who's learning, right? That's what I want you to do. I don't want you to look at their success in an envious way in as much as I want you to look at it from the perspective of an educational way. So just promise me that if you are going to listen to the stories, and I suggest that you do, don't be distracted by them in the sense that you're jealous, right? What I want you to do is I want you to be attracted to the stories, because if they did it, then you can do it as well, all right? Tip number 2, don't sweat the small stuff. It's very easy to let things build up on you, right? Especially when you're building that business and you're working on it and you're working on it and you're working on it. There were many times, and there still are, look, I'm not perfect and I don't profess myself to be perfect. There are many times during the day where I'm, dealing with huge challenges in my business. And then when I go home, I let the small stuff that happens in my personal life blow up and I take it out on my family. I've been guilty of this, all right? And I've had to learn how to control that and distance myself between what happens at the office and what happens at home. That is going to be something that you're going to have to learn as well, all right? But I am going to tell you that even in business, you don't want to sweat the small stuff. Don't let the small, insignificant things that happen to you throughout the day affect the bigger picture, all right? And it's really easy to let all the little things, all the little screw-ups, all the little mishaps keep going and going and going and build up until one day you just blow up, and then, you find yourself wanting to get away from what it is that you're building. And can I share something with you? Can I share that the real challenges, the big ones that are going to affect you, that are going to hit you on some random Tuesday that you don't even expect, those are going to be the ones that will knock you off the box. They're going to knock you out of the opportunity sometimes. And so you're so busy focusing on the small, minute challenges and details, when the truth is the really big ones, a lot of the times the stuff that we focus on is so small compared to the real challenges that lie ahead, okay? And you're so busy investing energy, because that's what's happening. You're investing your energy in those small challenges and stressing out on the little things, when the truth is you're going to need them for the really big ones that come when you do succeed, when you do grow. That's just a part of business. So stop sweating the small stuff, okay? And stop worrying about it so much, and stop worrying about things that may never even happen. There's plenty of times during when I'm getting ready for bed, and I've had a long day, and there's things that are stressing me out a little bit, and I'll have them on my mind. So what happens is, just before I go to bed, and chances are I'm not the only one, I think that you're probably doing this too, you have all these ideas of how something is going to turn out, on how something is going to pan out, on what the outcome is going to be of a certain scenario, of a certain situation, and you're replaying the idea of what is going to happen, and then when it really happens the next day or the next week, you realize that the way you had it planned out in your head, the way you were replaying this whole scene in your head, isn't even really the way that it turned out. So here's my suggestion to you, right? Stop worrying. Stop worrying about things that haven't happened yet, okay? Because you're gonna need that energy when the real challenges do come. Don't sweat the small stuff. Step 3, in learning and teaching commitment. Stop trying to change people. Listen, it's hard enough trying to change yourself. You aren't going to be able to change someone else. Now, I'm going to go off on a tangent here just for a little bit. Let's talk about relationships, right? Look, if you're in a marriage, right, you know who you married. You know all their wonderful qualities, and you know all of their not so wonderful qualities. And when you were dating, all you were doing was focusing on the wonderful qualities, right? And then when you got married, that sort of shifted for most people. For most people, what they tend to do is they then stop focusing on all the wonderful qualities, and then they start focusing on all the negative qualities. The same thing happens in business. What happens is when people really start to see how challenging it can be, right? If you have a business partner or if you have people that you work with, you want to try to get them to change, right? You know what they're like. You know how they operate. You know what they're like in business, and you spend all this energy trying to change them. You can't do it, right? It can be amazingly frustrating trying to change someone else in a relationship, in your personal relationship, and in your professional relationship. You can't change people, but you can change yourself, right? You can change and control how you respond to those people. So you have to stop spending so much energy trying to change someone else, okay? Really, the only thing that you can do is control yourself, maybe change yourself, and control how you respond to them. All right, now going back to the original example that I gave, in a marriage. Again, stop focusing on the negative stuff. Start focusing on all the stuff, on all the reasons that you fell in love with that person. And if you're not married, in that relationship, right? Start focusing on the positive stuff versus focusing on the negative stuff, okay? And if you have a business partner, I have a business partner, right? Focus on all the wonderful things that they bring to the table versus all the negative things that they bring to the table. And if you see that there's a lack of something, then find another person that you can hire or that you can bring aboard to supplement whatever it is that is lacking or whatever it is that is missing. So if you want to stay committed to your entrepreneurial endeavor, if you want to stay committed to your marriage, right? Okay, stop trying to change people. Step number 4, in learning commitment and learning how to be committed to your entrepreneurial endeavor, go back. Look, I keep bouncing back and forth from the entrepreneurial mindset to the marriage relationship mindset, and there's a reason that I continue to do that. Number 1, if you don't know it, I'm married, and me and my wife were blessed with 5 children. Okay, yes, they're all our children. And here's the thing. If things aren't right at home, it's going to spill on over into your professional life. You don't believe me? Go test it out yourself, okay? Now, for those of you that are single, young entrepreneurs that don't have a spouse, or they're in a relationship and they may not have children, look, I realize that for you, the scenario is going to be a little bit different, right? But these are tools, or steps, tips that you're going to have to implement into your life as you do develop these relationships. Because again, if things aren't right at home, I guarantee you they're not going to be right in the office, okay? So my step number 4 was go back. What do I mean by that? All right, let's talk about marriage for a second, right? Go back home, all right? There are going to be nights, there are going to be days where you're going to have spats. Things aren't going to be right. Conversations are going to turn ugly. That's just a part of it. And what I'm going to suggest to all of you who are married or in a relationship, you still go back home. It's all too easy in this day and age when things aren't going right to turn your back and to say, you know, I'm going to go somewhere else, or I'm going to hang out somewhere else, or I'm going to hang out with some friends, or worse yet, I'm going to hang out with someone I shouldn't be hanging out with. That happens a lot, all right? And I'm only speaking from experience without getting into too much details in my personal life. But I can tell you that you have to make sure that you go home when things are right, and when things aren't right, go back home, all right? Now, what do I mean in terms of business? In terms of business, you're going to have to go back when things are challenging, when things are difficult. You're going to have to muster up the courage on the days where you don't want to get out of bed, and you're going to have to put on your professional attire or whatever it is that you wear at the office. You're going to have to put on that smiling face, and you're going to have to go back, and you're going to have to start all over again, okay? You know, there used to be a saying that I would tell the people that worked very closely to me, and what I used to tell them was, when they came in the doors of our office, the minute they walked in, I told them to leave all of their problems at the door and for them to just drop them there, come inside the office, keep this place as a safe zone. And look, if they wanted to, whenever they left the office at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whatever hours they left, those problems would be right outside waiting for them, okay? This was supposed to be a safe haven for them the minute they walked into this zone, all right? But I wanted them to feel like they could always come back, go back to the office when things are difficult. It's easy to go to the office. It's easy to pursue that entrepreneurial endeavor when everything's going right, okay? That's not difficult. What's difficult is continuing to go back and back and back when things aren't going right, when you're getting bad news, when you're hearing things that you don't want to hear. But I'm going to suggest to you that you go back and you try again. Okay? You try again and again, even when those things get difficult, and get used to having to go back even when you don't want to go back, because that is what separates the success stories from the failures, is the ability to bounce back and go back and pursue that endeavor. Step number 5, in learning how to be committed. Get over the idea that this is going to be easy. Look, I don't know who started this vicious rumor about marriage being easy, about business being easy, about starting a business being easy. It's not easy. Marriage is not easy. Relationships are not easy. When you're in a relationship with someone, you've got two completely different people, right? Now, mind you, I know that there are going to be some of you that are going to argue, well, you know, we have all these similar interests, and, you know, everything's fantastic and everything is right, and I get it. Look, when two people find each other and they have common interests and they're in sync, that's all well and dandy. But at some point, just like any relationship, you're going to hit a wall and you're going to need to learn how to stay committed to one another when it really hits the fan. Because at some point, it will. It happens to all of us. No one is immune from having challenges in their relationship. okay? And so you've got to get over this idea, this concept that, marriage or this relationship that I'm in is going to be a cakewalk. It's not. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to be Debbie or Donald Downer. I am preparing you so that way when the challenges do arrive, right, you know how to handle them versus heading for the hills. Because it's easy to head for the hills. It's easy to throw in the towel when the challenges come in. But when those challenges come in, that's when you really show your partner, your spouse, the person you're in a relationship with, what you're really made of, okay? That's where you're going to show them, look, I'm committed to you. I'm committed to making this thing work. Despite the mistakes I've made, despite what we're going through, despite the things that are happening to us, I'm committed to us coming out of this. And any scars that I wear as a result of it, I'm going to wear proudly because, that's my badge of honor. That's my commitment to you. All right. Now that's in relationships. That's in marriage. Okay. Let's talk about business, right? Business is not easy. Starting your own business, starting your own entrepreneurial endeavor is not going to be easy. The cards are stacked against you. All right. You might as well know that. Okay, if you don't know that, most businesses fail within their first 2 years. I would venture to say it's more than 50%. And the truth is, I would have to say that most of the reason that most of those businesses fail is because most people quit too early. They lacked that commitment. They lacked that grit. And so they weren't prepared for when it did get hard. They weren't sure how to handle it. And so I tell people, I want, even people that have they have no interest in starting their own business. Even the people that prefer to work for somebody else or to be an employee. Look, there are plenty of people that just want to get their paycheck. They want to be comfortable. They want to get paid. They want to go home to their family. And that's okay. There is nothing wrong with that. I still suggest that those people go out and start their own business, even if it fails. And the reason that I suggest that they do that, the reason that I want you to go out there and do that is because you're going to learn some things about yourself. You're going to learn that you're stronger than you initially thought you were, right? And that you could deal with much more than you thought you were. Even if the business fails, you're going to walk out of there and you're going to learn some things about who you are and what you're made of, okay? So this concept of starting your own business, when people get on stages or on a stage or in front of a video and they YouTube and they talk about how easy the business is and how quickly that you're going to make money, look, that's a bunch of BS. The reality is for you to build something that is substantial, okay, something that is going to last, it is going to take time. It is going to take effort. It is going to call upon your skills. It is going to call upon your time. It is going to ask things of you that you didn't even know you had to give up. That's all part of the process. And the earlier that you accept that, the more likely you are to succeed. Because if you think that this is going to happen in 2 to 3 months or 4 to 6 months, sometimes not even 4 to 6 years, if you think that it's going to happen overnight, it truly is not, okay? But you got to stay committed for the long haul. And I am going to say that the ones that succeeded are nothing more than the ones that chose not to quit and not to give in. And here's the other thing. As times change, as technology improves, your business model is going to change too, okay? And so your commitment to that business or to that endeavor is going to require that you also adapt to changing circumstances and to changing situations, okay? So keep that in mind as well, all right? And that's a part of it, and that's not easy either. But once you've accepted that, right? Once you've accepted that you're gonna have to do that, it becomes easier to adapt as well. Our sixth and final step, remember why you started. Now this is very, very important, okay? I know why I started my entrepreneurial endeavor. I know why I married my wife. You have to remember why you started. Now, there are plenty of YouTube videos, there are plenty of speeches that talk about knowing your why. But it's very easy, especially as things become challenging, it's very easy to forget the reason that you got started, okay? Now, here's the deal. If you knew how difficult something was going to be initially, all right, you probably wouldn't have got started. If I had known how difficult it was going to be to get the body that I have now, which is not necessarily something that I'm hugely proud of, but had I known how difficult it would be to get the physique that some of these other guys have, I probably wouldn't have gotten started either. okay? Initially, I went to the gym just because I wanted to stay fit and I wanted to look good, right? My wife competes. She's a bikini fitness competitor, and I saw what she had to go through in order to compete in those fitness competitions. And you know, she told me the same thing. Had I known what I would have to do to get on stage to compete with those girls, I probably wouldn't have gotten started, right? So it's very important that you know your why. Same thing applies to business, right? You have to know why you started, because it's going to get challenging. For me, I got started because I wanted to make sure that I had created something, a legacy that I could pass on to my children. I got started because I wanted to make sure that my kids would always have a place where they could walk into and they could have a place to work, right? That was the reason that I built this business. And because, look, I wanted to have a lifestyle that I felt that I deserved. I felt that my wife deserved. I felt that my children deserved. I wanted to build that myself, and I was willing to work my butt off to make sure that I got there. So just make sure that you focus, right? And you make sure that you never forget the reason that you got started in your entrepreneurial endeavor. We made it to the end of this video, and I gotta tell you that I really enjoyed making this for you. I love the discipline of commitment and sticking something out, right? And it's not, and again, it's something that can be taught. It is something that is emulated, you know, based on what you do. Your children emulate it, the people around you emulate it, and people know when you're committed to something. They see it in you. And there's an art form to the discipline of commitment, right? Because people know that you will follow through what you say that you're gonna do, all right? And so, that being said, I hope that you implement some of the stuff that I talked about today. I would love any comments, ideas, questions in the comment sections below. I monitor those things. I make sure that I respond to them. Make sure that you subscribe, but also make sure, again, that you hit the alerts button so that way you can get alerts every time I upload new content. I look forward to hearing about your success. I look forward to you inspiring me. I'll talk to you guys soon.